The military coup in Myanmar in 2021 sparked a huge increase in conflict right across the country. Now there are literally hundreds of armed groups fighting against the military. In late 2023, three of the country's most powerful armed groups, calling themselves the Three Brotherhood Alliance, launched major offensives in northern Shan State and Rakhine State. Since then, one of these groups, the Arakan Army, has seized control of nearly all of Rakhine State and part of neighbouring Chin State as well. Today, the military controls just three small areas in Rakhine State, around the state capital Sittwe, an infrastructure zone at Kyaukphyu, and the island of Manong. Together with resistance allies, the Arakan Army is now advancing into neighbouring regions. It now controls more territory than any other non-state armed group in Myanmar, with more than 1 million residents. While the Arakan Army has been successful on the battlefield, the military is still able to hurt it in other ways. Rakhine is heavily dependent on central Myanmar for essential goods, and the rugged mountain range makes it easy for the military to block supplies from coming in. There are essentially only 4 roads into Rakhine State from other parts of Myanmar. The Arakan Army is also struggling to expand its administration and to provide public services to the large number of people now in its territory. Life has become increasingly difficult for people in Rakhine State. In particular, food prices have soared, and the Arakan Army's recent attacks into neighbouring regions are in part aimed at loosening the military's blockade so more supplies can enter. The military also controls access to electricity, to telecommunications, and to banking services, and it's shut down all of these since fighting resumed in Rakhine State in late 2023. The Arakan Army seeks to emulate another of Myanmar's armed groups, the United Wa State Army, which has built an autonomous enclave on the other side of Myanmar, in Shan State. But this group has built its protestate through close integration with China. It benefits from trade gates along the border, as well as access to Chinese electricity, telecommunications, banking services. It even uses the Chinese currency. In contrast, Arakan Army-controlled areas are heavily dependent on informal trade with Bangladesh and India. But the infrastructure in border areas is limited, and these countries are reluctant to engage a non-state actor like the Arakan Army. Bangladesh's main priority is for Rohingya refugees to return to Rakhine State, which is now under Arakan Army control. In 2017, around 750,000 Rohingya fled into Bangladesh after they were attacked by the Myanmar military, which is widely accused of committing atrocities against the Rohingya. Bangladesh currently hosts around 1 million Rohingya refugees, most of whom live in the world's largest refugee camp, known as coup. Even before the Arakan Army emerged as a powerful actor in Rakhine, Rohingya refugees were reluctant to return to Myanmar because they were worried that they would again face mistreatment by the Myanmar government and its military. But the Arakan Army is now suspected of committing atrocities against Rohingya who are still living in Rakhine State. In particular, it's been accused of burning Rohingya homes in April and May last year, and of carrying out other human rights violations. These alleged incidents come after Rohingya armed groups, backed by the Myanmar military, were accused of burning homes belonging to the Rakhine Buddhist community in the same area in April 2024. These events have badly damaged trust between the Arakan Army and the Rohingya community, and also undermine the group's relationship with Bangladesh. China is also closely watching developments in Rakhine State. Rakhine's main economic asset is Kyaukphyu, a coastal region where China wants to build a deep-sea port and special economic zone. The area already boasts an offshore gas field, oil terminals, and pipelines that carry oil and natural gas from the Indian Ocean to China's Yunnan province, bypassing the Malacca Strait. But it's going to be difficult for the Arakan Army to leverage this asset. Myanmar's military regime is a shareholder in the project, and the pipelines to China cross regime-controlled areas of the country. The Arakan Army has effectively encircled the military at Kyaukphyu, as well as a nearby naval base. Reports are emerging of an Arakan Army offensive in the area, but the group will need to be careful not to damage key infrastructure, as that would likely be a red line for Beijing. It seems likely that the Arakan Army will remain in control of much of Rakhine State, if not all of it, for the foreseeable future. It's very hard to see how the military could dislodge them at this point. The group's emergence as a de facto authority in the state creates challenges for outside actors that are reluctant to engage with non-state armed groups. But finding new ways to work with the Arakan Army may be the only way for these states to stabilize their borders and to prevent a growing humanitarian crisis by allowing aid and trade into Rakhine State. Bangladesh in particular has no choice but to work with its new neighbour. These efforts, though, will need to take into account conflict risks, human rights considerations, and legal constraints. At the same time, the Arakan Army should commit to an independent investigation of alleged abuses against the Rohingya, and it should also take other steps to improve relations with the Rohingya community. It should also work with Bangladesh to try and create the conditions for safe and voluntary repatriation in the territory that it now controls.